Well, good day, folks. NBWildman back here again with you. And on today's episode, we're talking trail cams. This is a review of the Browning Dark Ops Elite HD. This micro cam series from Browning is great. We're going to talk today about some of the pros and cons of this camera and see if it's something you might want to add to your hunting equipment. If you haven't yet subscribed to the NBWildman channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell so that you get notified when we upload new content. I wouldn't want you to miss any videos. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Feel free to give us any comments, questions. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Okay, folks. So the Browning Dark Ops Elite HD. Standard micro cam from Browning. Great little camera. Super small form factor. These cameras are about 3.5 by 4.5 by about 3 inches thick. Super small, easy to get in and out of the woods, way less than a pound. Real nice camera as far as size goes, easy to conceal, easy to hide. Got a nice camo pattern on the front, and when you get them in the bear box, they're almost completely concealed, so that's a good thing. Before we talk about the camera, just let me talk about bear boxes for 1 second. I always buy bear boxes for all my cameras. I don't put any cameras out in the woods, not in deer season, not in bear season, not in any season, without a good quality bear box. You get most of my boxes from camlockbox.com. They make great bear boxes specific for every camera. I'm not advertising for them, I'm not paid by them, but you can go onto their website and just put in the model of camera that you've purchased or that you're thinking about purchasing, and they've got a bear box to match it, and it will fit it absolutely perfectly. So these ones, again, from camlockbox.com, slide right in, and they are absolutely perfect and real small as far as the box goes. It's designed specifically for this camera. It doesn't fit any other camera, but real great for the cameras that you have. Okay. Again, I recommend if you're going to spend any amount of money on a camera, you're going to buy yourself a decent game camera, spend the extra 20 bucks or whatever it is, and buy yourself a nice rugged bear box, because bears will eat these cameras. They will chew these cameras. People will lug them away if they can. And a bear box won't always stop that, but it certainly is a great deterrent for someone lugging your camera away for a bear actually destroying or taking your camera away from your spot. All right, well, let's talk about what's in the package. So when you get your camera, you're going to have your camera, of course. You're going to have your instruction manual, and you're going to have the strap. Take a second to talk about the strap. I know it's a silly little detail to talk about, but Browning is the only company so far that I've found when I buy cameras that has the strap actually figured out. Most times you spend $150, $200, whatever you're going to spend on a camera, and it comes with this junky little plastic strap that would, I mean, it gets cold, it snaps, you can't really pull it tight, it doesn't stay tight, all of those things. If you're going to attach the camera to the tree with a strap, this strap is really good. Now, I don't typically use the strap. I typically screw my camera box to the tree, but you may be in a place where that's not allowed, or you may want to use the strap if you don't want to carry a screw gun into the woods or whatever you want to do. But the beauty of them is that they're nice and long, so you can get around any size tree, and they've got a metal buckle, real nice solid metal buckle it's got the teeth in there. So once you go around and strap that through your bear box or strap that around your camera, and then you cinch that up tight, I mean, you can reef on these, and that's a super good grip. I know lots of guys in my area that just use the strap to put their cameras up. So I mean, they are rugged, they are solid. You can use them year after year, and they're not going to be those little buckle type that snap and break on you. All right, guys, next we're going to talk about the instruction manual just for a minute. And I'm not going to bore you with how to go through and actually set this camera up, set the time and the date and all of that. These instruction manuals are in English, which is great. And they are straightforward, easy to read. There's also a French version. All of them are available in translations online. But they're really straightforward, and you can't really mess this up too much. You can get this out of the package and into the woods in 5 minutes. The setups are really easy. You know, you just click a couple of buttons, scroll through, enter, scroll through, enter. You know, it's pretty straightforward. And these are very easy to read. So I'm not going to bore you with walking through and, you know, doing all of those things, how to do that. I figure you can read the instruction manual as good as the next guy. So there is that, but it is straightforward and easy to use. Okay. Let's talk about the camera. So the camera itself is, it's not low glow. This is a no glow camera. And when they say no glow, it is no glow. These things are super stealthy in the woods. There's not a little bit of glow. There's not a flash of any kind. There's not a click of any kind, no shutter. I've had cameras that say they're no glow or that they're low glow, and you can see them from half a mile away. And if you can't see the light, you can walk by them and hear the shutter go click, click when it's taking pictures, right? And you get a lot of this deer looking right at the camera type pictures, right? These are super stealthy. They're not like that at all. If you didn't set them yourself and put them in the woods, you'd think they weren't working. They don't make any type of sound or anything like that. So that's one of the best features of these cameras that I like, is that they're just dead silent in the woods. And once you set them up and walk away from them, they'll do their job without alerting any game or anything like that at all. So I get very few of the the one type pictures where they look at it and then take off, or almost none on these cameras. So I do love that about them. One of the other things I like about these cameras is that there are a lot of different options for settings. You can set everything from right down like 2 megapixel pictures right up to 10 megapixel pictures, depending on the size of the SD card you want to use, depending on how many pictures or video you think you're going to get at your spot. I like to set mine sort of in that middle range, like the 5 megapixel range or whatever. But depending on what you want to do, if you have a bigger SD card, you want to put it up on 8 or 10 megapixels, you get better quality pictures, better images. You can zoom in a lot farther on them, a lot clearer than you can with the lower. But if you think you're going to get 3,000 or 4,000 pictures at your spot before you're going to get back and change out your cards or swap out your cards, then maybe you want to drop that down to the 2 or the 4 megapixel range, and that way you can get more pictures on the same SD card. But that's up to you. But the number of different settings these cameras have is amazing. You can set fast burst or slow burst, or you can set normal, or you can set right up to taking 6 or 8 pictures at a time in a burst, and different video modes, different photo modes, time-lapse modes. All of those things are available on this little micro cam, and this makes the number of features that it has makes it a really attractive camera, right? You don't have to get a plot watcher camera. You can use you can get this camera or a camera like this, and you can go with the mode where it just continually takes pictures every so often. You just time it, right? Or you can set it for motion and all of those things. So the number of features of the camera make it really attractive for me as well. Another one of the great features of these cameras is battery life. I don't know about you or how many cameras you run, or if you run a lot or a little or whatever, but I run about 6 to 8 cameras in the run of a season, on 10 different spots or so. But I find that battery life is a big factor in when I decide to buy cameras. So these micro cams only take 6 batteries, and I'm cheap. I mean, I'm cheap as the next guy, I guess, and I just buy the little cheapy batteries. I don't go out and buy lithium batteries, and maybe I should, and maybe they'd last longer, and maybe I'd get my value, but I just kind of can't bring myself to spend $14 or $15 for 8 batteries. But so anyway, I buy just regular Canadian Tire, whatever brand batteries. These are Energizer, whatever's. And the thing about these cameras is their battery life is phenomenal. So even with these cheap batteries, right? So they only take 6. And they're really easy to install. You just pop the front cover open there, and there's just a real little button. You pop that out, and you got a little tray. It slides out, and then you put in 6 batteries, and you're good to go. Okay, there we go. 6 batteries, all installed, and you just slide it back into the tray, and you're good. Okay. Now those batteries will last me basically right up and through about September. And I start putting these cameras out the 1st of May. So by September, these will be down around 60% battery life. Every time you turn the camera on, it shows you what the battery life is. So when these are around 60%, I swap them out. Not because I'm afraid that they're going to stop taking pictures, but I want to make sure that they don't drop down into that 30-40% range. When they get there, cold can affect them, and as September starts, it starts to get chillier nights and colder weather, I want to make sure I got a good fresh set of batteries for the September on into hunting season, when I really don't want to miss pictures of those bucks or what's coming in as far as that goes. So basically it means I'm going to run 2 sets of batteries all year long in one camera. So 6 right now when I put it out the 1st of May, and then 6 again around the 1st of September. And that's going to put me right through, and I don't use any more batteries than that in the whole camera. So 12 batteries for one camera for one whole season is amazing. I mean, I've got some Bushnell cameras that take 12 batteries, and I'll replace those 3 times, maybe 4, in the run of a season. So, and I'm not complaining about the Bushnell cameras. I have some, and I like them real well. It's just that the battery life isn't what it is on these micro cams. So if battery life is a concern for you, you're running a lot of cameras, need a lot of batteries, things like that, you really should consider these Browning micro cams. All right, so you get your batteries in, and now the only other thing you got to do is install your SD card, and you are good to get this set up and go. So I've got a couple of, these are 16 gigabyte SD cards. I use a lot of 8s and I use a lot of 4s, just depending on how many pictures I think I'm going to get out of spot. But basically now, you know, like 8s and 16s are the smallest you can buy. So these will take right up to a 32 gig card, by the way, okay? So they kind of go in upside down. They go in with the gold strip facing up, and then they just click, and they're in there. Okay, so you push them in, and they kind of push back out, and then there's a little click, and then they're in there. Okay, so once you've got your SD card in there, you're just going to power this on, and it's going to come up to the startup screen. And you're going to walk through the process of setting up the camera as per the instructions. And again, like I said, I'm not going to walk through that with you. You can read the instruction manual. What I will tell you though is, if you're curious, in the back of the instruction manual, there's a chart, and I'll show it to you right here. And this chart tells you kind of how many pictures you're going to get roughly, depending on the size of the card that you have, and the setting that you put your camera on, like for megapixels or for video, okay? So if you want to know how to set it up based on the size of your card, just refer to this chart at the back, and you'll be able to tell. So again, we're going to power this on, and you're just going to come up to a startup screen, and it's going to start counting down from 30 seconds. And if you don't do anything, it'll just go to the factory default settings. And it'll just start doing its thing, right? Its camera still work. It just won't be set up your way yet. But if anytime during that 30-second countdown, you just hit the mode button, then it'll take you right into that first time, date, stamp, setup, and then you can walk through each one of those things and set the camera up the way you want it to go. Okay, so pretty easy, super simple to do. All right, so I spent all this time telling you all the good things, or a lot of the things I like about these cameras, and why you should kind of maybe consider getting one if you're into the business for cameras. There is a couple of things about them that I will tell you that I don't love. A couple of things that I've had issues with or problems with, and I just want to be honest and upfront. Like, I'm not selling Browning cameras. I just want to give you a review of what, you know, kind of some of my experiences have been. The first issue that I've had with these cameras is that if you leave them out all year long, they can get moisture inside them, and then they'll stop working. I don't know whether it's the seal or whether it's the fact that just throughout the course of the changing seasons, depending on how extreme your weather is, they may contract and expand enough to let moisture inside the camera and damage the board, and then they just stop functioning. So I've never had that problem with these cameras. If I put them out, you know, early spring, you know, 1st of May-ish, and if I collect them end of November, I've left them out to the end of December before, but I've never left them out year-round in any spot, so I've never had that problem when I bring them in. Now, a couple of buddies of mine have these cameras, identical cameras, and they leave them out year-round in their spot, and one of them said that he got moisture in and it stopped working, and the other guy said the same thing, so they figured the cameras, you know, weren't very good, and they asked me about them, and I said, well, I've never had that problem because I always bring mine in, right? So they're going to start to maybe do that too. Along those lines though, customer service from Browning was great for them. Both of those people called the customer service, explained that they bought the cameras and put them out and left them all year long. They got moisture in them, they didn't work. They figured it was moisture, and Browning took both the cameras back and fixed both cameras and sent them back. So all those guys had to pay was shipping one way, and Browning was really good about getting them fixed and getting them back in their hands. So even if you did have a bit of a moisture problem with the cameras, Browning customer service was phenomenal for them. So I can't see why it wouldn't be any different for you. And the only other negative thing, and this really isn't an issue or problem with the camera itself, but they only take 2 minutes of video. And I know myself, there are sometimes I'd like to have longer stretches of video where the video clicks on and then kind of the action doesn't happen in that first 2 minutes or whatever you're trying to kind of capture. So I'd really like to see them go to a 5-minute video camera. I know it would take a bigger SD card, lots more memory to run that, but even so, in today's world of technology, there's all kinds of large, you know, SD cards that you can get. So it would be nice to see them bump it up to at least 5 minutes of video. But for right now, one of the drawbacks is only 2 minutes of video. But that's nowhere near enough to make me, you know, not get one of these cameras. I like these cameras. I like these cameras a lot. So, and I guess the only other thing I can think of to tell you that might be a drawback is sometimes the nighttime pictures are a little bit grainy if it's foggy or a little bit rainy out. So if your spot is kind of in a wet area and you get a lot of that low fog at night, or you get, or it's raining, and this is taking pictures, then you will find that the pictures are just a little bit grainy and it's hard to zoom in to get much detail. But other than that, I got nothing bad to say about these cameras, and I'd like to have I'd like to have 8 or 10 of them out there. As far as quality and as far as performance goes. Cost, I can't afford 8 or 10 of them, but I'd like to be able to. So speaking of cost, they really weren't that bad when it comes to game cameras. I picked these up with the bare box included, and I think I got them from trailcampro.com when they have that deal at the end of the season where they sell 4 cameras in a bunch. If you've never seen that, go ahead and check them out, trailcampro.com. They often have an end of season sale or a sale at the beginning of the next season for last season's cameras that come out, and they sell 4 at a time. So 4 cameras and 4 bare boxes, and I had them here in my hand in Canada. So once I paid the border and all that stuff, I had them here for about $170 a camera, which is pretty good for this quality of camera. So can't go wrong. Anyway, that's all. Just a quick review of the Browning Microcam. And if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to leave them down below. And happy hunting from the NBWildman channel.